Dovale Sullivan to discuss China challenge to Indo-Pacific. Visiting U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and his Indian counterpart Ajit Doval will hold delegation-level talks today with a focus on security in the Indo-Pacific amidst Chinese continued belligerence against Taiwan and using Myanmar to gain access to the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. NSA Sullivan will also meet External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Also meet External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. While the priority bilateral agenda on the eve of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's state visit to the US was on top agenda for the two NSAs on Tuesday, the focus will be on Indo-Pacific with US Indo-Pacific Coordinator Kurt Campbell accompanying Sullivan. With China monitoring Indian activities in Bay of Bengal through its installed intelligence collecting facilities in Myanmar's Coco Island, north of India's Andamans and Nicobar Island territories, and signing a security pact with Solomon Islands in far Pacific, the expansion of PLA Navy's footprint in the Indo-Pacific is a matter of serious concern to both US and India. Repeated intrusions across the Taiwan air identification zones through PLA military aircraft and warships as well as continued standoff with Indian Army in East Ladakh are most disconcerting to the natural allies. It is understood that NSA Sullivan and NSA Doval had one-to-one dialogue on global security issues and the future of bilateral partnership on.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Understood that NSA Sullivan and NSA Doval had one-to-one dialogue on global security issues and the future of bilateral partnership on Tuesday with all indications of a positive interaction. The newly appointed U.S. ambassador to India Eric Garcetti called Indian NSA an international treasure at a CII event after the two met at Sardar Patel Bhawan days before. Garcetti, as per claims, has a working knowledge of Hindi and Urdu and has travelled extensively in India in the past. With China investing in Myanmar-Bangladesh corridor to access the Bay of Bengal as part of the Belt Road Initiative, BRI, apart from ongoing investments in Pakistan with the same objective, there is ample evidence to indicate that President Xi Jinping has all plans to project dominance in Indian Ocean and has already built sufficient leverage with African countries through backbreaking Chinese debt burden via the BRI route. To add to the discomfort is the increased Chinese diplomatic and military engagement with Sunni Shia powers in the Middle East, with Beijing investing in Port Khalifa in UAE and Saudi Arabia investing in setting up oil refineries in China instead of any other Sunni country. On May 7, US and Indian NSAs along with the NSA of UAE held talks with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh to set up railroad infrastructure in Sunni Middle East as a counter to the Chinese BRI initiative. Of UAE held talks with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh to set up railroad infrastructure in Sunni Middle East as a counter to the Chinese BRI initiative.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Creative reconstruction brings hopes and dreams to life in Fukushima. 12 years have passed since the huge earthquake that struck eastern Japan on March 11, 2011. On April 1 of this year, with the backdrop of delicate cherry blossoms adorning the areas affected by the disaster, an organization was set up as a new driving force for reconstruction, Fukushima Institute for Research, Education, and Innovation, FREI, whose goal is to serve as an R&D center for advanced, world-class technologies.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
R&D Center for Advanced, World-Class Technologies. The institute is expected to play a pivotal role in the development of the Fukushima Innovation Coast Framework, a national project that aims to create industries in the Hamadori area, a coastal region in Fukushima Prefecture that was severely damaged by the tsunami-caused accident at the Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Power Station, NPS. The opening ceremony, held in Nami Town, Fukushima, was attended by Prime Minister Kishida Fumio, who remarked, FREI aims to be a world-class center of excellence for creative restoration that will strengthen Japan's scientific and technological capabilities and industrial competitiveness, while emboldening hopes and dreams for realizing the reconstruction of Fukushima and Tohoku. FREI's mission is, as the Prime Minister noted, to become a world-class center of excellence for creative reconstruction. According to Yamazaki Koitsuya, appointed as FREI's first president, creative reconstruction is not simply about restoring things to their original state, but is instead about aiming for even greater heights. That is why I believe it is important to demonstrate.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Simply about restoring things to their original state, but is instead about aiming for even greater heights. That is why I believe it is important to demonstrate how we can make our presence felt both domestically and internationally. FREI has 4 functions. The first is to promote world-class research and development, and the second is to use the results gained from this research for social implementation and industrialization. While creating new industries and accelerating the development of existing ones, FREI will pave the way toward the further reconstruction of Hamadori, Fukushima, and the whole Tohoku region. Meanwhile, FREI's third function is to develop human capacity, specifically the young people who will be instrumental in building the future. And finally, its fourth function is to act as a control tower for the many different research institutes in Fukushima, including such national entities as the Fukushima Renewable Energy Institute, AIST, and the Fukushima Regional Collaborative Research Center of the National Institute for Environmental Studies. Those institutions serve as regional campuses for FREI to realize the creation of a unique place where research, demonstration, and implementation are carried out together, and to share the knowledge gained thereby with the wider world. Our role is to deepen research as a whole, while avoiding any overlap with research that has already been carried out in this region, said Yamazaki. FREI's budget scale for the 7 years of its medium-term plan through 2029 is approximately 100 billion yen, and the aim is to establish a research system consisting of about 50 research groups. The 5 key areas for research are, 1. Robotics, 2. Agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, 3. Energy, 4. Radiation science, medicine, and drug development, and industrial applications for radiation, and 5. The collection and dissemination of data and knowledge on nuclear disasters. For example, in the field of robotics and drones, there are plans to hold a global contest to find the absolute best technologies for next-generation mobility to be used in harsh environments after disasters strike. And in the area of nuclear disasters, FREI has opened a branch office at Fukushima Medical University as its first organization devoted to conducting radioecology research. I believe that it is our responsibility as Japanese people to preserve the data from Fukushima as a legacy, so that, in the unlikely event of another disaster, people can say that it was useful, affirms Yamazaki. To secure internationally renowned researchers from Japan and overseas, and to have them settle down and work on research in Fukushima, the environment to receive them must be improved in multiple respects, including housing, medical institutions, and schools. Everything, including the provision of facilities, has yet to happen, but that's why we all think it's so exciting. I want FREI to be involved in regional development so that we can become a symbol of creative reconstruction, by restoring people's affluent lifestyles and enabling them to enjoy a life of multiculturalism. With high expectations from the local community, the small steps taken now by FREI will eventually lead to great strides involving industry, academia, and government to produce new value. Such is the future we can all look forward to. To be involved in regional development so that we can become a symbol of creative reconstruction, by restoring people's affluent lifestyles and enabling them to enjoy a life of multiculturalism. With high expectations from the local community, the small steps taken now by FREI will eventually lead to great strides involving industry, academia, and government to produce new value. Such is the future we can all look forward to. Such is the future we can all look forward to.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
3 key disaster management schemes unveiled. There should be no loss of life due to any disaster anywhere in the country, Union Home Minister Amit Shah said on Tuesday while announcing 3 schemes worth 8,000 Indian rupees crore related to disaster management that include modernization of fire services, flood mitigation in 7 major cities and prevention of landslides in 17 states.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
And prevention of landslides in 17 states. In the past 9 years, the central government along with the states have crossed many milestones in managing disasters, Shah said at a meeting of the Ministers of Disaster Management of States and Union Territories at Vigyan Bhawan in New Delhi. The centre will provide 5,000 Indian rupees crore to the state to modernize and expand fire brigade services. We have prepared a detailed plan, which will be forwarded to you, he said. To mitigate the impact of floods in urban areas, 7 major cities including Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Bengaluru, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, and Pune will get a total of 2,500 Indian rupees crore, he said. As many as 17 states will be given 825 Indian rupees crore to deal with landslides, he added. The National Disaster Management Authority has visited states where 7 nuclear power stations are being built and has prepared a protocol to avert any possible disaster. I appeal to all those concerned states to make it a priority. Before the commissioning of the nuclear power plants and before the generation of power, whatever disaster prevention measures have to be taken, should be taken. It is of utmost.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Commissioning of the nuclear power plants and before the generation of power, whatever disaster prevention measures have to be taken, should be taken. It is of utmost necessity for all of us, Shah said. Disaster management is not a new concept in our country. There are documents available from Chanakya's Arthashastra to the works of state administration of mythological times, the Home Minister said. All of them talk about disaster management. Responding to suggestions from some state ministers to enhance compensation to farmers who face natural disasters, the Home Minister said the central government would examine the proposal, but states should also increase their budgetary provisions to deal with it. Speaking on the Model Fire Prevention Law, Disaster Prevention Policy, Thunderstorm and Lightning Policy and Cold Wave Policy formulated by the central government, Shah said a majority of the states have either not implemented them or work plans have not been formulated. He appealed to the states to work on them on a priority and appreciated those who have implemented or formulated work plans. Under the Apta Mitra, Friend During Disaster, scheme, 1 lakh youth volunteers have been trained in 350 disaster-prone districts and this has yielded good results, the Home Minister said. Scheme, 1 lakh youth volunteers have been trained in 350 disaster-prone districts and this has yielded good results, the Home Minister said.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Eritrea rejoins East Africa Trade and Security Bloc IGAD after 16 years. Eritrea says it is ready to work toward peace, stability, and regional integration after it rejoined the East African Bloc, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, on Monday.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
IGAD, on Monday. It comes nearly 16 years after the politically isolated state pulled out of the bloc. Information Minister Yemina Meskel said Eritrea resumed its activity in IGAD and took its seat at a summit organized by the 7-nation bloc in Djibouti on Monday. The East African nation led by 77-year-old Isaias Afwerki, who has ruled for 3 decades, had suspended its IGAD membership in 2007 after a string of disagreements. One of them was the bloc's decision to ask Kenya to oversee the resolution of a border dispute.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Them was the bloc's decision to ask Kenya to oversee the resolution of a border dispute between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Eritrea broke away from Ethiopia, its neighbor, in 1993 and fought a 2-year border war that prolonged into tense and bitter relations until 2018, when a peace agreement was signed with Abiy Ahmed, Ethiopia's prime minister.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
PM Chris Hipkins uses Fielde's visit to rule out fertilizer tax, reaffirm support for Hiwaka Iknoa. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins has spoken to media from the 55th annual Fieldays at Mystery Creek. Hipkins has been at the event talking to farmers ahead of this year's general election. This morning, Hipkins ruled out a fertilizer tax which had been raised by the Agriculture Minister as a possible backup option to Hiwaka Iknoa, the industry-led partnership working to price on farm emissions.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
The industry-led partnership working to price on farm emissions. This was met with anger and frustration by farmers and other political parties who said it showed Hiwaka Iknoa was dead in the water. Hipkins said the government was still working through Hiwaka Iknoa and continued to support it. He said it was great to be at Fieldays but understood the primary sector would be feeling the uncertainty other New Zealanders were. 3 years of disruption, including a global pandemic, deteriorating global environment in terms of economy and conflict, supply chain disruptions and extreme weather events had all hit the primary sector. The government had heard that, Hipkins said. Hipkins said there was never any certainty around a fertilizer tax and he had ruled it out because farmers had said they would rather move forward with Hiwaka Iknoa instead. He would meet with sector leaders over Hiwaka Iknoa on Thursday. I think we can get a way forward, I don't think we're that far apart. Hipkins said he believed Labour was a party for all New Zealanders, including farming communities. I'm out to get every single vote that.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Hipkins said he believed Labour was a party for all New Zealanders, including farming communities. I'm out to get every single vote that I can, I'm not writing off any sector of the population. Reaction to him at Fieldays had been mostly positive and taking aim at comments made earlier in the week by National Party leader Christopher Luxon. Hipkins said, I haven't met anyone who's wet, I haven't met anyone who's whiny, I haven't met anyone who's inward looking, I haven't met anyone who's really negative. Admittedly, I haven't run into Christopher Luxon yet. However, Christopher Luxon, who also spoke at Fieldays, said it was important the agricultural sector continued to grow. He doubled down on claims the Labour government had treated farmers like villains, and also reiterated he had not been referring to the general public when he said New Zealand had become a very negative, wet, whiny, inward-looking country that had lost the plot, earlier this week. I'm not calling them wet and whiny, Luxon said. New Zealand is the best country on planet Earth. It has endless potential. We have very smart people, we are right bang smack in the middle of the Asia-Pacific region. But under this Labour government in the last 6 years, this is a country heading utterly, totally completely in the wrong direction, the government is wet and whiny. In addition to being Labour MPs, Hipkins said he and his colleagues were at the event as the government would be expected to be there and engaging positively. In response to National's earlier announcement about gene editing, Hipkins said discussions needed to continue. New Zealand needed to be careful not to make changes before understanding the implications, he said. Scientific progress was already being made on gene editing and Labour was not turning its back on it, he continued. Hipkins said biosecurity was front of mind for many sector leaders, and he was very proud of the work that had been done around Mycoplasma bovis. Labor shortages were also front of mind and the government would continue work with sectors on that. Hipkins said he had seen some amazing examples of tech in the farming industry to measure and reduce emissions while at field days. The technology is there. I think we've got to look at the scale and the deployment of that technology. With regard to inflation, Hipkins said things were getting better on a month-by-month basis and there was light at the end of the tunnel. We're making progress, we want to get inflation back down cause that is the thing that's eating away at household budgets. Government's agricultural policies all over the show, Luxon. Luxon said the government's agricultural policies had been all over the show. We've supported Hiwaka Ike Noah from the beginning, we've said that's right that the industry develops a solution. Chris Hipkins and the Labour government shot it to pieces, they killed it back at the end of last year. And so it's a bit like a bad Monty Python skit with the dead parrot really, it's not there. It's not working when the Federated Farmers call it sleeping. It's obviously not a dynamic partnership or something real. The government's policies would destroy a fifth of sheep and beef farmers in 7 years, Luxon said, and move production overseas to less efficient places. It makes no sense to introduce agricultural pricing at a point when farmers have no tools or technologies or benefits of sequestration to offset those emissions. Making global greenhouse gas emissions no better, at the same time destroying livelihoods, weakening our economy and making every single New Zealander poorer in this country. And so, chucking a fertilizer tax or whatever else is dreamed up last minute to try and create something is a waste of time. Luxon said it was possible to meet 2050 carbon neutral goals without destroying the agricultural industry. It follows the National Party's announcement that it would reassess the restrictions on genetic modification if it came into government. The technology was not mutually exclusive with New Zealand's green branding, Luxon said. The reality is New Zealand needs to maintain a clean, green image, he said. When you do have pest-resistant grasses, for example, and you're not using pesticides that are ending up in rivers, that's a good thing. When you make sure that you can actually deliver on your emissions targets and deliveries, that's a good thing. Think about many of the European agricultural countries that have actually embraced technology while also maintaining clean and green image. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive with New Zealand's green branding, Luxon said. The reality is New Zealand needs to maintain a clean, green image, he said. When you do have pest-resistant grasses, for example, and you're not using pesticides that are ending up in rivers, that's a good thing. When you make sure that you can actually deliver on your emissions targets and deliveries, that's a good thing. Think about many of the European agricultural countries that have actually embraced technology while also maintaining clean and green image. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Will George Go qualify to run for president? It's a matter of discretion, say lawyers. How might businessman George Go still qualify to run for president in Singapore, if he does not meet the requirement of having been chief executive of a company with at least $500 million in shareholders' equity? Constitutional lawyers say that it will likely come down to the discretion of the Presidential Elections Committee, PEC, as it is unclear whether Mr. Go will automatically qualify as a candidate.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
It's unclear whether Mr. Go will automatically qualify as a candidate. Questions over Mr. Go's eligibility have emerged since the serial entrepreneur, who brought Harvey Norman to Asia, announced on Monday, June 12, that he intends to stand for election. Mr. Go was the second person to put himself in the potential running, after Senior Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Mr. Go said he was confident of meeting the criteria, and that he had put together a team of professionals to help determine his eligibility. The 63-year-old is Group Executive Chairman of Asha International, a Singapore exchange, SGX, listed investment holding company with a market capitalization of about $45 million, $33 million US, as of Wednesday. His website states that he has owned 7 listed companies across Singapore, UK, and Australia with a collective market.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
His website states that he has owned 7 listed companies across Singapore, UK, and Australia with a collective market capitalization of $3.15 billion. Relying on the deliberative track. To meet the private sector service requirement to be president, an applicant must have served as the chief executive of a company for at least 3 years. During this time, the company must, on average, have shareholders' equity of at least $500 million and made profit after tax for the entire time. Until the PEC decides, there will be uncertainty as to whether Mr. Goh will be on the ballot, said Associate Professor Eugene Tan of the Singapore Management University Yong Pung Hau School of Law. From Mr. Goh's press statement and remarks to media on his candidacy, it appears that he does not automatically qualify to stand for election under the private sector service requirement, said Association Professor Tan. He probably is going to rely on the private sector deliberative track to secure eligibility, he told 24newsread.blogspot.com. Under this track, the PEC will consider whether the nature of the office, the size and complexity of the organization and the applicant's performance in that office is comparable to the experience and ability of a chief executive of a typical company with shareholders' equity of at least $500 million. The PEC may also consider any other factors it sees fit, as to whether an applicant has the experience and ability to effectively carry out the president's functions and duties. In other words, if he qualifies automatically and is a person of integrity, good character, and reputation, the PEC is duty-bound to issue him a certificate of eligibility, said Association Professor Tan. But on the deliberative track, he is requesting the PEC to exercise discretion and grant him a certificate of eligibility, which will hinge on whether the PEC is satisfied in the manner as described above. $500 million, a hard rule. Mr. Ben Chester Chong, a law lecturer at the Singapore University of Social Sciences, similarly said it was not immediately clear whether Mr. Goh meets the shareholders' equity requirement. He pointed out that in the past 3 financial years, Asha International made profit after tax, but its total shareholders' equity was below $500 million. Mr. Chong said that based on his understanding, the $500 million shareholders' equity is a hard rule that applicants must still meet, even under the deliberative track. He added that it was also not clear which company Mr. Goh was relying on to meet the shareholders' equity requirement. According to Mr. Goh's website, he is concurrently also the founder and director of Harvey Norman Asha, and founder and group chairman of ITG International, which has a property development business. He was previously the chairman of international operations at sporting company Rebel Sport, founder and director of VGO Corporation, known for the world of sports stores, founder and director of water treatment solutions provider United Envirotech and founder and chairman of property fund manager SGL Capital Investment Management. The Constitution is quite clear that the presidential election applicant needs to be a person who is the most senior executive, however named in that entity, and who is principally responsible for the management and conduct of the entity's business and operations, said Mr. Chong. One would assume holding a co-founder role or majority shareholder alone is insufficient if it's not in a senior executive capacity that is equivalent to CEO, he added. Mr. Chong also said that allowing an applicant to aggregate a portfolio of companies at different points in time, to reach $500 million in shareholders' equity, would defeat the purpose of the legislative amendment that brought about this requirement. The private sector service requirement was raised from $100 million paid-up capital to $500 million shareholders' equity in 2016. The updated quantitative threshold of $500 million reflects the vastly different economic climate today, compared to 25 years ago, then Deputy Prime Minister Teo Chee-hean told Parliament at the time. Assistant Professor Benjamin Joshua Ong, also of the SMU Yongpung Hao School of Law, said that based on his reading of the Constitution, one cannot add up multiple companies' shareholders' equity to make up the $500 million. Even if you don't meet the requirement of $500 million shareholders' equity for one company, the PEC can, in its discretion, take the view that you have had a comparable level of experience and ability to someone who has been chief executive of one company with shareholders' equity of $500 million or above, he said, concurring with Association Professor Tan. Assistant Professor Ong said this was a matter for the PEC's discretion, and according to the Constitution, the PEC's decision in this regard is final and is not subject to appeal or review in any court. Shareholders' equity to make up the $500 million. Even if you don't meet the requirement of $500 million shareholders' equity for one company, the PEC can, in its discretion, take the view that you have had a comparable level of experience and ability to someone who has been chief executive of one company with shareholders' equity of $500 million or above, he said, concurring with Association Professor Tan. Assistant Professor Ong said this was a matter for the PEC's discretion, and according to the Constitution, the PEC's decision in this regard is final and is not subject to appeal or review in any court. This regard is final and is not subject to appeal or review in any court.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.